It is the 200 level, and it is deja vu all over again for a myriad of reasons, not the least of which you lost in overtime again, 0 for 4. You lost to Wisconsin in overtime for a second time, 0 for 2. You allowed their two guards to have whatever they wanted, whenever they wanted. I'm pretty sure you've not beaten a tournament team since the calendar turned to February. Is that right? That's right. You continue to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. And this team, as I sit here right now, seems like a prime candidate for an exit in the second round. And that's why today was so frustrating, because it felt for 25 minutes of regulation like this team may have rediscovered a bit of their swag, only to lose, I think, every bit of that. Because down the stretch, I know you forced overtime despite Boyd and Blackwell doing what they did, but to me, it looked like a team that is tired, that is not very confident, and they felt it slipping away from them. That is after a 5-day break. That is after getting the triple bye, having some much-needed rest, and it didn't matter. I don't know if today is going to be very micro or analytical about what Brad Underwood did or did not do, because there are such things as bad matchups, and you could argue that Wisconsin is one such thing. However, a 15-point lead is sizable enough. If you are a team that is, talking about making a run, a 15-point lead is sizable enough to withstand runs from good and sometimes even great teams. But man, oh man, if this team is not finding ways to blow leads and not close down the stretch. And I mean, if you want to talk about what's the recipe to winning in March, isn't that it? Making big plays down the stretch, because these games will inevitably be within 2 or 3 possessions. And this team is just allergic to doing that. So I sit here today, frustrated for sure, but honestly pit in my stomach thinking this is like, you got 2 more games left with this team. That's how I feel right now. The podcast I had on Monday, I think it was, I felt weird talking about this team because you're watching it and something's off. There's like an uncanny valley effect where they don't look like the team they were in late January. And unfortunately, that is 6 weeks ago. That's ancient history. And what I feel about this team now, in terms of my own confidence that they're going to make some sort of run, that's basically evaporated. It's gone. And you could say, well, don't overreact to one game, and I would agree with that. But this is the trend. Play a tournament caliber team, get a lead, lose. To say nothing of what happened against Michigan. This ain't it. They are going to finish the year with a gaudy record and a lot of wins. And yeah, we're the winningest Big Ten team in the 2020s. And that is an objective fact. But with increased expectations comes increased disappointment when you don't get over certain humps. And this was not an NCAA tournament game, but to me, it is very much a barometer of where this team is going forward. And that's why I say, as I sit here right now, we're looking at 2 games and done. 2 and out. We'll cross that bridge when we get there in terms of a conversation. And boy, would I love to eat crow and come back on here after a second round win, get in the Sweet 16, have a week to think about it. And it could be that the Big Ten is loaded this year and you just kind of withstood your best punches and now exhale, play non-Big Ten teams at least for the first 2 rounds and see where the chips fall. But as that comeback was going on for Wisconsin, and it was, I know you say comeback, it was 12 minutes to go in regulation, kind of like last time, which was up 12 with 8. This is up 15 with, I think, about 12 or 13 to go. And they just could not be stopped. If you want to ask hypothetically, well, what would Brad Underwood have done differently? I wouldn't have a great answer for you. But I'm also not getting paid $4.5 million. to figure these things out. I'm also not equipped with a staff of like 9 dudes in polo shirts. The game was falling apart in front of us yet again. And there were no answers, and there was no resistance. None. You kind of got, not kind of, you got punked. So no Pizza Hut parking lot bullshit. That's done. We know that. But I don't need that. I need a team that just goes out and makes plays. So that's fine that Kylan got in the jawing competition, but guess who came out on top? Again. And I could sit here and say, well, Nick Boyd bothers me. But the fact is, if he wants to play heel and he wants to yap and he backs it up, all the power to him. That is a locker room that will be celebrating hard. They will run out of gas against Michigan tomorrow. But you know what? They probably secured themselves a 6. And they deserve that, if not a little bit more, with the quality wins they have. But this is also a team, Wisconsin, that is capable of losing to Oregon within the last 2 weeks. So you want to tell me that, well, it's just a bad matchup. That's why these two guys combined for more than 60 points. I call BS on that. And I say, yes, we should have something in our tool bag with a fully healthy roster to at least slow that down. But yet again, a record day for the opponent. If you want to know why my frustrations with Brad Underwood have kind of, in some ways, come to a boiling point this year, it's because you see the very best and the very worst, or I should say, your most optimistic self and your most pessimistic self as a fan both got fodder this year from what we saw on the court. The optimistic side is he's going to get you dudes. He does. And he's not going to field the bad team 100%. And you're going to make tournaments 100%. I mean, that's a good place to be. But the pessimistic side and what starts to wear as we approach what will be year 10 next year, what starts to wear on you, or it will be the 10th season he's been here, is the feeling that you have plateaued with what you're going to do. And it's a good plateau in the context of college basketball. But if my guy can't win in March, sorry. I mean, yeah, that's bothersome. That is bothersome. And today was what has been the cherry on top of a 5-week turd Sunday. That I think it's a little bit too late, unfortunately, to really turn that back around. So, hope for good matchups. Hope that they can get to the second weekend. Yeah. The problem is, though, it is now hope instead of confidence. It is almost turning into blind faith that this team will somehow snap back into what we saw at their peak. But the culmination of the year and the workload on Keaton, which people poo-pooed and said, don't worry about it, he's 19. You watch him today and want to tell me that the minutes played haven't had an impact on him and the turnovers and the sloppiness? He got his points, but he was not good. But how could we expect him to be in game 32, where he's averaging 38 minutes per game as a 19-year-old kid who still has a lot of weight left to put on him? Frustrating. And I'm just going to go to the chat right here and react to that as we go, because I see we got a lot of people here, and thank you for watching on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. And I wish for better circumstances. I was ready to come back, make a little cocktail, and you got to win. And that's really all you needed to do this weekend. Just shoot your shot against Michigan. No big deal. But you don't get a win. You lose to Wisconsin, which, yes, it is infuriating. But you know what? I could sit here and say, I hate Wisconsin, which they annoy the crap out of me. But they punked you, and they earned it. And you shriveled. You were soft. So all the bluster and all the swaggering nonsense from your head coach is for naught. Just say, like, we're a good finesse team. At least be honest. Frustration abounds. There will be some curse words that we'll try to be preemptively careful about that. But yeah, I will say, fortunately, when I got sponsors like Hamilton Walkers, which I will be going to this weekend, thank goodness, I will be just melting into one of their delicious bone-in steaks as I enjoy an old-fashioned. This is Hamilton Walkers, by the way. I'm going there with my wife this weekend, and thank God for that. I'm going to cleanse myself from basketball and focus on the good things, like really good food and top-notch service, which is what they provide. And I think what really makes Hamilton Walkers a great spot any time of year is the fact that you can have a more casual dinner out front in the bar area. They got nice tile floors. I don't know if it, for some reason, reminds me of a Prohibition era kind of thing. It's got the 1920s, 30s vibe. Or you can have a more kind of stately dinner. But the thing that I love about it, too, is that it's not pretentious. And Hamilton Walkers, if they wanted to be, they could. That's how good the food is, but they're not. And the prices could be a lot more for how good the food is, but it's not. So I give my personal Carp stamp of approval, and I feel very lucky to have a sponsor like Hamilton Walkers as part of the 200 level. Also, State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com. Life, auto, home, business, renters, you name it. Brian is my guy, and he can be your guy as well at brianismyguy.com. Brian has been our insurance agent since 2020 when we moved into our house, and it's homeowners and auto, so we get the State Farm bundle. The package, as far as pricing is concerned, is competitive with anybody. It's really just the customer service with Brian and the staff that makes it such ease of mind, or peace of mind, I should say, when it comes to matters of insurance, because to me, that stuff is Latin. I want it taken care of and out of sight, out of mind. And with Brian, you can do that. And a great guy to boot, and a Illini fan. And what I appreciate about Brian, too, is having called a few games with him down here, he's very chill. He's not nearly as angry as I get. And I kind of want that for my insurance guy. I want like a guy that's on the level. And that's Brian. So I appreciate Brian Hansen, State Farm agent, brianismyguy.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call, 217-841-4728, and join their maintenance program. No overtime or weekend fees, guaranteed same-day service. We're going to get our AC checked here in the next few weeks, and we're going to need it, I think, as we get into April, into May, and thank goodness for that. It went on a few times in the last couple weeks, and it's working great. 15-year-old system, but Dogtown's been maintaining it, and it's been working tip-top. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, 217-841-4728. And finally, Owen Builders LLC, online at owenbuildersllc.com. Luke and his staff can help you with your next home improvement project. Check out a gallery of their work and get a free quote while you're at it online at owenbuildersllc.com. All right. Hey, chat thread, for those that are just coming on in, throw it out there, man. Throw it out there. From Czar 22297, Brad apologist going to be busy after this one. And Seth says, Carp, no kid gloves. So before I get to some of these other ones, I had a thrill for me yesterday as I had Dan Bernstein. And I know for Illini fans, Dan Bernstein can raise an eyebrow, but he spoke to my college class yesterday. And, I've been listening to Dan all the way back to Boris and Bernstein. They started, I think, in 99. And he was terrific because he gave my class a full hour. His stories were incredible. And just very gracious. He sent me an email in the aftermath, said, thank you for the opportunity to speak to your class. So everything I've heard about Dan is because, I've known some people that work at 670. They say, oh, he's one of the best dudes you'll ever meet. The personality on the air, people think he's kind of prickly. Not at all. Just a legitimately great dude. So that was a case of, if meeting your heroes is a bit of an overstatement, he is certainly someone that I've been listening to. And the reason I bring this up, Seth, what is my role as a Illini sports commentator guy? What is my role as the fan, or the fanboy, as the moniker goes on Twitter? And I think for those that listen and haven't tuned out yet because they can't stand me for whatever reason, I think that those that listen or watch know that what I do here is I celebrate the successes because they deserve to be celebrated. I've said on here before, this is kind of a golden age of Illini sports. When you look at what the revenue sports are doing in tandem, it's the best combination of that in my life. It's sustained. And that's a credit to Josh Underwood and Josh Whitman, Brad Underwood, Brett Bielema, and now Shauna Green. So I do celebrate the successes. People know that. I didn't write an Illini basketball book because I hate it. I love it. I live for this. So why, Seth, has this year been more taxing? I'll be dead honest with you. I have been figuring some things out with my own, let's call it mental health. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. I think that I'm going to be 40 this year, and it's not quite a midlife crisis, but I'm figuring things out and trying to find some more moments of just take a breath, ease up. And the catharsis I get on here, I can't tell if that's good or bad for it. But I do know after talking with Dan yesterday and trying to kind of reflect on what is my role, celebrate the successes of which there are many. But when it feels as if things are not being done that could be done, call it out. The tricky thing about this conversation, Seth, is that there is objective success in a lot of it that Brad Underwood has had. They even had a graphic up there today, 24 wins, tied for the most he's had in a regular season. Or I think the most he's had in a regular season because it was 23, the Elite Eight year. The 8 Big Ten road wins, the most in Illini history. 15 wins in conference, tied for the most in team history. Or I think that would be, because the 05 team was 15-1. So that's right there. And it makes this conversation interesting because someone from afar could tune in and say, why, Carp, are you complaining about this coach that has all this success? And I would say, that is a fair question because media guides would suggest that this thing is humming along. But the problem and why, no, I'm not going to wear kid gloves. And I don't do that anyways, Seth, though maybe it comes off that way if I'm trying to be more level-headed, so to speak. More needs to be done to capitalize on the good rosters you have. And we're sitting here on this Friday afternoon staring down the barrel of another early tournament exit. And we, again, don't overthink this. You've been watching this team for 6 weeks now not be quite the same. And it could be that there's tape on you and they figured out how to defend Keaton a little more effectively because his efficiency has gone down. Maybe not the point totals as much, but his efficiency has. Maybe it's just a matter of other boats rising and you've just kind of stagnated. Like you peaked too early, and that happens in basketball, even with great coaches. My problem, Seth, is I don't think that Brad Underwood is a great coach. I think he is a great CEO of a college basketball program, but I don't think he's a great coach. And if you want to win titles, or I should say, because this is all about March, if you want to make runs, I don't need a national title. It'd be amazing. I don't need it. I'd love it. But if you want to make runs, you need a great coach for the most part. And I am, as I've said before, looking, I think, at late stage John Calipari, knowing you're going to make the tournament, knowing you have talent, but also having no trust or faith that this is the coach that's going to get you into the Final Four. Now, Matt Painter, as I mentioned on a previous podcast, took 18 years to do that. And everybody lauds Matt Painter as this great coach, even though you can go to Purdue message boards and they'll say, oh, man, like he has this tendency or that tendency. I think what I'm feeling right now is a fatigue. I've seen this story before. It is starting to feel like a rerun, and I'm having less fun with it. That can be very much a me problem. But I also know I'm not alone in that. So if there are people, Illini fans specifically, that would suggest to you that you don't have a reason to be frustrated in moments like this, I would vehemently disagree with them. The expectations have risen because of Brad Underwood, but so too does the disappointment when you don't make runs. And this is looking like another classic example of a Brad Underwood team sputtering down the stretch. Gaudy numbers aside, they are sputtering. It is compounded. I'd be remiss if I didn't say it's compounded by the fact that Morez Johnson and Michigan will probably be in the title game. I would be lying if I said that didn't have an impact as I watch a former Illini, a 3-year commit, a guy from Chicago who came here, and you elected to go with Tommy. And I know that wasn't maybe an apples and oranges A or B choice. But if this day and age in college basketball is all about resource allocation and who do you value the most, hindsight 2020, I understand, but that might have cost you significantly. And what I'm starting to see in terms of my own kind of like approach watching these games, I'm just, it doesn't matter what the lead is. I have very little confidence that they're just going to keep humming along and get it done. This trend since February 1st, here's your trend since February 1st, okay? You won at Nebraska. That was the last game that you won against a tournament team. February 1st. An amazing win. You can't take that away. You can't take the Purdue one away, even though they've kind of sucked down the stretch. You smoked Northwestern at home, and then you lost at Michigan State. Remember, you had a lead early in that second half of, 7 or 8 points, I'm pretty sure. And that's something that, of course, Michigan State can't make up at home. But you had opportunities to win that game. You didn't. Lost in overtime. You come home to Wisconsin, 12-point lead with 8 to go. You lose in overtime. You smoke a shit Indiana team. You smoke a shit USC team. You lose in overtime to UCLA after being up 33-10 with 9 minutes to go in the first half. You don't even really bother showing up against Michigan. And don't tell me, oh, well, if we would have made shots, please. That was a C performance from that Illinois team, and you know that as well as I do. Don't rationalize for a team that is good enough to make a run when they don't play as well as they should. Don't rationalize that. At Maryland, okay, we try to excuse it, but that's part of the reason I came on Monday with no juice, because we watched it, and we knew, I don't know, man, I hope they flip it. Now, I said on Monday, the nature of postseason, it can flip. And this team has talent. And against my better judgment, against my gut, my head is saying they're good enough to overcome that. Well, apparently the gut was right. The reason I couldn't bring you unbridled optimism on Monday is because my gut knew that wasn't legit. And here we are again, waiting for Selection Sunday, waiting for what is probably a 3 seed now. And Operation 3 seed, as I said back in late December, accomplished. Mission accomplished. Cool. But it is the way in which this has unfolded, where every loss is a reminder of what will probably happen in the NCAA tournament. This team looks ready to be done. I mean, and that might seem like completely unfair speculation, but late in that game, did you not get the sense that every time Wisconsin had the ball, they were going to score, and every time you had the ball, it was going to be laborious to put the ball in the basket? And that is for the number one offensive efficiency team in the nation. It felt like a job in the last 5 minutes against a Wisconsin team that defensively is not that good. At a certain point, these are inexcusable for the level that you've raised your program to. You cannot continue to lose games like this, because you know what the perception of Illinois is nationally? Yeah, Brad Underwood's doing a good job there, but they aren't actually a player in the tournament, because they aren't a player in the tournament, and they won't be in all likelihood again this year. So that's the dilemma. The regular seasons have a lot of wins, and you make tournaments, and you get bites at the apple. But I have very little faith that even with all those bites at the apple, that Brad Underwood is the guy to take advantage of it. I have very little faith. And that might seem like piling on after a game in which two guys very well may have just went off. Nick Boyd and Blackwell, they might have just had that kind of game, but they already did that against you 5 fucking weeks ago. And you were healthy. And I'm seeing Kylan and Andre get blown by, so I'm thinking, well, that wasn't a fluke either. I guess it wouldn't have mattered if those two played. So much for that narrative. It was the same game. You know, it's kind of funny. It's like what was it Dennis Allen said after the Bears-Cardinals game in 2006. We had him on the hook, and we let him off the hook. They are who we thought they were. Like, I mean, this Wisconsin team, how are they going to beat you? 2 guys going off. What happened? 2 guys went off. And then you're just like, well, they had a great game. I don't know, man. You got a roster and you got resources to figure that shit out, and they don't. They have, I swear to God, every time I look behind that bench, there are more guys. Lon Kruger's kid is back there. There are more guys in polo shirts with block eyes taking numbers and crunching stat. Like, who even knows? And it doesn't matter. And you got a roster that is a multi-million-dollar production, and it doesn't matter. You're getting out coached by Greg fucking Gard, of all people. Enough. I'm not having fun with this. I'm simply not having fun. And that can very well be a me issue, as I've said. But that was excruciating down the stretch. That was 45 minutes of my life where I'm like, oh my God, I know where this is going. And you all knew it too. Come on. We all knew it watching it. This is why I'm not going to do the live pods during the tournament, because it's just, there's too much angst now. And again, who's guilty of that? Sure, I am. No doubt. But I know what's out there. I saw and felt that environment when people were leaving the Michigan game. Just sort of, God dang, man, that sucked. And in a weird way, it's like being on the precipice of greatness is all the more excruciating when you don't push past that and you're just good. And I worry that the season's going to end with, oh, that was good. But after all the fireworks from earlier this season and all the hope that thought, man, I swear to God, and I talked about it on here, when this team after the Nebraska game got that win without Kylan, thinking, man, guys, now we got to start talking bigger aspirations. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. It's unfortunate. Wesley says, need this vent session like I need air to breathe. Well, this is a fucking vent session, baby. I'm sorry. That's the last F word for today. From Bobo, holy shnikes, this team is overrated and will lose in the first round. Also from Wesley, had a 2 seed in your lap and you threw it away for a 3. Not much difference, but it matters. It does. When you look at the 6th line, you're probably looking at like a BYU now. You thought Nick Boyd and is it Josh Blackwell? You thought they were good? Just wait until you see Dibansa playing in the second round. AO says, let's go, Carp, bring the heat. Also from Seth, Illinois can't hold the lead. And St. Dom says, I'm over it. St. Dom, I'm over it too, man. I hate that I am, but I am. I hate that I am, but I am over it. I don't want to watch basketball for the rest of the weekend. I've allowed myself to lose the fun of watching basketball because I know my team's not going to be a player when it counts. It was really interesting during the game because me and Trevor and Isaac were texting, and he has been able to adopt a more objective or neutral perspective working for Field of 68. And he said, this is a great game. And I'm like, I'm not having fun. I don't think it's a great game. For me, it's not. For me, I know where this is going, and I hate it, and it sucks, and oh my God. Sure enough, worst suspicions were confirmed. So I'm over it too, St. Tom. I am. And it is something where Brad's not going anywhere. So all I'm asking him and his staff of 12 minions to do is figure it out. That's all I'm asking. You have a team capable of doing more, and it seems as what's going to happen is what we've seen March after March after March. So I beg and plead on both knees, hands to whatever God or deity you believe in, that somehow this program will get over the hump. And you know what's so funny about it? It ain't that hard for other programs. Michigan can make a Sweet 6, an Elite 8, mind you, with Juwan Howard. And then they fire him after he wins like 9 games to go get Dusty May, and they're going to be in the national title game. They will be. That's one example. But why is it for like a Nate Oates? And I know Alabama might not have had their best year, but who do you trust more in March, Alabama or Illinois? There are teams that develop reputations that they are not the team you want to face in March, and there are teams that develop reputations as paper tigers. And essentially what Brad Underwood has done here is build a paper tiger. They have these gaudy records, and yes, objectively, you are not going to consider getting rid of a guy like that. But when you are living inside of it, and you are continually watching them lose the biggest games that matter the most at the end of the season, and most of the time, mind you, laying a complete freaking egg, as they did against Kentucky last year, and UConn the year before that with a 30-0 run, which more and more time passes, I think, I know they were good, but are you kidding me? 30-0? Or the year before that where they didn't even show up against Arkansas. Or the year before that when Houston just shoved it down your throat. And we can say, oh, it was a bad matchup. It was a bad matchup. I don't know, man. Some coaches, they find ways to minimize the bad matchups and overcome them at a higher clip than a Brad Underwood does. What Brad has been able to do is bring in talent consistently to win a lot of games. And that is no small feat. That is not easy to do, and he's done that consistently. But the next level or the next step is a guy that can do that and win big games. I don't think he's it. And we are stuck in a good spot, but maddening when you're in the middle of it. And I isn't that the dilemma with all this? You're stuck. And what it does, and I'm actually interested, chat thread. If I sound like a basket case, I understand. But I'm actually interested in the chat thread. Here's a question I want to ask. I want you to give your replies. Are you losing the fun in watching Illini basketball despite all the wins? If that is a me problem exclusively, then that's something I got to get over with. And I wouldn't begrudge anyone for tapping out and saying, Carp, just can't do it, man. I'm actually still having a good time watching them. But I ask you, those we have about 400 people right now in the feeds, which I appreciate all tuning in. But legitimately, are you losing a little bit of that sense of fun in watching Illini basketball, despite them winning a lot of games? I'm trying to figure that out myself, guys. I am. I really am, and I'm trying to be fair, and I know I'm probably failing miserably at that. But that's just where I'm at. Oh, man. Okay. I just had to get a breath there. Let me get a quick drink of water, and we will just kind of go through this chat thread here, which is loaded. From Jazzy. Tommy is one of the worst regressions I've ever seen in this program. Jazzy, it's really unfortunate. I mean, he had a couple good takes around the rim today. He made a 3, and I thought, man, if you win this game, and maybe this can be the game to get him going. I know it's March 13th, but I mean, better late than never. It didn't happen. And that shot from the free throw line when the game is on the line and you got to get a bucket there, that's ridiculous. I mean, that is not a good shot you would ever want. And he missed it. But it's not just that. It's at halftime. I checked the box score, 8 minutes in the first half. Only played 8 because Big Z was a lot more effective. It's one thing to be 0 for 3 from the field. It's another thing in 8 minutes as a 7'1" guy to have 0 rebounds. What is even the point if you won't defend and you won't rebound if you're 7'1"? What is even the point? And what is compounding this, as I said before, is Merez doing his thing in Michigan. Well, Carp, he asked for more money. Yeah, he did. You could have paid him. Oh, well, that's not right. Eventually, you got to draw the line somewhere. I don't know, guys. This is basically professional basketball. You have decisions to make as who is the guy that you cannot let go. Who are you going to build the team around? While I understand hindsight is 2020 and we could say, well, Tommy was the guy. Tommy was the guy. We at least would have entertained the discussion if we had known that was potentially, resource allocation. We either got to go with this direction or that direction. We at least would have entertained the conversation because anyone with half a brain that's ever watched basketball knew that Merez was going to take a jump. We also knew that Tommy finished last year really well. And the idea was he might be an all Big Ten player, that he might have one more year at Illinois before he goes pro. Well, that ain't happening. And now I'm wondering, you bring him back, and what do you even have there? Can you somehow keep Big Z and not keep Tommy? I don't know. But he's a net negative right now. Brad Underwood scoffed at that notion when asked about it back in, I think, January. Tommy had one good game, and he was asked something like, well, Tommy's been struggling. He's like, well, no, he hasn't. Also, this thing, I mean, think about this. The Maryland game that you win by 6, you closed it out despite, look it, a guy went off again. Isn't it amazing the number of guys for opposing teams that go off for like 30 points against a Brad Underwood coach team? I digress. After that game, was it not Brad Underwood who snapped, I think it was at Brad Sturdy, for asking a question like, hey, you guys closed out this game after struggling late? He's like, I don't like that question. We've closed out plenty of games. Well, guess what, Brad? You just fucking blew it again. You just blew it again. So I would go tail between your legs a little bit today as you explain a carbon copy of what happened on your home court 5 weeks ago. to a good Wisconsin team that has won some big games this year. But all you had to do in those intervening 5 weeks is somehow go to the lab and figure out a way to not let two guys score 60-plus combined points, and you would have won. But you didn't do that. And now they advance, and you sweat out Selection Sunday if you were hoping for the 2 in St. Louis, which you were probably not going to get. All right. As Wesley said, the fact that Brad threw a fit after the Maryland game when asked about not being able to close out games and then this happens is something. It absolutely is, Wesley. And it makes you as a fan want to say, Brad, shut up. You have not earned that bluster. You have not earned that swag. I don't care how many regular season games you've won. Until you make a Final Four, cut the crap. You are not at a level to do that to your local press. Now, are the local press bothered by it? No. They got thick enough skins. They move on. I'm saying this from the perspective of a fan, of an alum. I don't like that. I don't like when guys making millions of dollars a year to coach a stupid game get to talk to other people as if I'm better than you. I don't like the optics of that. For someone that has not won in March at a level to be talking like that, and even the ones who do that talk like that, you know what? Often the guys that make those runs have enough confidence within themselves to not snap back at a reporter for a question like that. A completely innocuous question that was fair and justified. And the point was proven again today when you went 0 for 4 in overtime games. I am, for my own mental health, not going to bother looking at clips in the press conference or watching a second of it. It is a futile endeavor if you don't want to throw a remote through your TV screen. Don't do it. Because he will try to sell you something. But we all know that there's not a lot of meat on the bone. We know it by now. It's maddening. From Bobo, 2 games isn't happening. 1 game and first round exit. I don't know about that, but you say, Bobo, the players don't care anymore. They've checked out. I did not feel that way, Bobo, for the first 25 minutes of regulation. By the end of regulation, I felt, man, eye test, body language, fatigue against a team that had just played a game the day before in Washington, gave them all they were worth. I saw a team, as I was watching with my dad, he said they looked tight. They did. That is not a team that's going anywhere, guys. That's not. You watch enough NCAA tournaments, you know you got to be the loose team. I think Wisconsin has a pretty darn good shot to make a Sweet 16. And you could say, well, Carp, then today's not a bad loss. No, it is. Because this is the kind of team that you would play to get in the Sweet 16. God forbid you play a team that has a guard that is mobile and can dribble drive and can shoot a few threes. I don't think do many NCAA tournament teams have guards that can dribble drive and shoot threes? I got to check the numbers on that. I think most do. That's not good. Because as good as Boyd and Blackwell were today, I'm looking near and far. I don't see them on any all Big Ten list. No, not there. So maybe I don't know. It always cracks me up after these games. It was a bad matchup. And I admit that, yeah, this was not the best matchup for Illinois. But if you're good, figure it out. Oh, man, it's a bad matchup. Let's just acquiesce the 60-plus points to 2 guys. Give me a break. It is 2 on 5. 2 on 5. I know Rapp made a 3 late. There was 1 layup that another one of their anonymous white guys got late in the game. I think that's 5 of Wisconsin's last probably 40-some points. Maybe 50. And I don't know if that's an exaggeration. Were scored by someone not named Boyd or Blackwell. And it is an unbelievable performance by them, but it's another in a long line of unbelievable performances against Brad Underwood teams. Why does this keep happening? And if we want to say, well, the numbers say, let them get theirs and blah, 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 blah. He's lost too many of these games when giving up big performances for that to be a legitimate excuse anymore. No, it has to be better. And it's not going to get better in the next week. Jay says, what a joke. Illini Media, says William. William says, Illini Media, Tommy could shoot the 3. Yeah, that ship has sailed. I know he was about 30% last year, but it was the way he was shooting it at the end where he thought, maybe we can inch up towards 35 this year. But time and time again, he's camped out in the corner. He's doing the little pick and roll up top. And sure enough, he gets one mismatch down low, easy bucket. And it's like, that's a good post move. But that's, talk about, matchup hunting. They don't matchup hunt that very much. Stay out in three, land Tommy, and miss another. So what you're doing essentially is you are just banging your head against a wall, like you did last year with Ben, playing him 30 plus minutes a game. You were banging your head against a wall saying, well, if it starts working, this might actually really take off, except it doesn't. It is clear as day it's not going to work. So stop doing that so much. From Joseph, how many NBA players can Underwood waste? Well, Joseph, isn't that the question? As I said before, it is the talent accrual which has made this a very winning program. But it makes the losses that much more frustrating when you see wasted opportunities. Keaton Wagler will be another in a long line of, wow, that was an amazing find. Cool. So what do you guys win? Nothing. I mean, 24 games, but, oh, you have any banners? No. Oh. And again, if that sounds like spoiled fan, I get it. I understand fans would want to trade places, but what I've said, and this is another thing that Bernstein kind of reminded me of when talking, when he talked to my class yesterday. I think what happens is, when it comes to leadership in sports, there is this weird propensity of fans sometimes to just sort of say, well, oh, it's fine. When in actuality, these are people getting paid a lot of money to do these jobs, to provide entertainment, essentially. But of course, there is the emotional connection that we have to sports beyond the entertainment part, right? So if it seems like I'm being hard on Brad Underwood, well, it's because I am. And if you say, well, why? It's because, okay, I understand you're winning games, but you are acting and talking and carrying yourself as if this is a top 10 program, but you don't have top 10 results to show it. That's the long and short of it. That is what, to my core, bothers me as a fan. That we have this amount of bluster, and yet it's not supported by a level of success that warrants that bluster. It is a personality thing for sure. And that is subjective as all get out. I'm not saying that's right of me to allow that subjectivity to influence the way I talk about it. But this is also why I'm not getting press credentials or trying in any way, shape, or form to act like an objective journalist. And I would tell my students at the U of I the same thing. It's not, you got to find what you're comfortable with. And I'm too much of a fan. I'm too entrenched in the thing to objectively go and report and ask questions and all that, because I got too much emotion about it. At the same time, what I'm trying to do, coupling that emotion with criticism based on what's actually happening. And the personality thing may be a bridge too far, but I think it is the personality coupled with the continual losses in the games that matter most. And more than that, if you feel as if this team is coming up short in the biggest games, it's not just because of the losses, it is the way in which they are occurring. And I think this goes unsaid sometimes by some media. It is the way in which these losses, the snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, eventually gnaws away at your confidence in that coaching staff. And that is what today ultimately did. Selection Sunday will happen. We'll fill out the brackets. Oh, well, who's the 6th seed? Oh, BYU. Oh, crap. Oh, boy. Well, let's see what happens on Sunday. I mean, oh, right. And BYU 172-67. I mean, let it play out. I get it. But let's not, come on. It's right in front of us. You guys see, there wouldn't be this many people in here if it wasn't right in front of us, staring us in the face. From St. Dom, what's off this? This team doesn't have a dog on it like Terrence Shannon Jr. Too many European players. I don't know if that's the question, St. Dom, or the concern, because, well, Mirkovic didn't make free throws, and I love the kid, but he did not make his free throws. I think really it's Wagler is not who he was. Today, what was it? 4 turnovers ultimately. He's not getting the calls. We know that, and that can be frustrating, no doubt. But as I look at Keaton's plus minus, it's -3. I look at someone who turned the ball over 3 times, though really, there was one time he fell on the floor. He got bailed out with a foul. He is sloppy by his standards. 8 for 18 is not bad, but 1 for 6 from 3. He's not making threes now. He's under 30% in the month of March after shooting, I think, at a 42% clip in January, and then 36 in February, and now 30%. That is not a switch that you can just flip. And yet you are running an offense in the same exact way that you did back in January, except the shots are not falling at a high enough clip. And the defense, to say nothing of that, which is, will look good for 10-minute stretches and then look like absolute dog crap the next. So, yeah, this team's not going anywhere. They don't have the alpha dog for sure that they used to, because Keaton hit a wall. And it's unfortunate it happened now, and I guess it was bound to happen. It's also unfortunate that you insisted upon playing him 38 freaking minutes a game the entire season. And I know there was the injury to Kylan there in late January into February. And I know that Stojakovic missed a couple games as well. But this is a cumulative effect, I think, that is compounding the shooting issues. His legs are not as under him. We see that when he drives to the rim. This is someone that is laboring, and he's playing his butt off, but he does not have the lift that he used to. Why? Laugh at load management if you want. But it is, it is frustrating when you hear from people saying, no, that's not a concern. He's 19. He'll be fine. Mm-hmm. Keep carrying water for Brad Underwood. Some of these people. It's maddening. Keep carrying water when there are easy decisions that, if altered, could have a positive impact on this team. It is frustrating when legitimate concerns are aired by fans. And maybe that's what this podcast can be. Legitimate concerns are aired by fans and poo-pooed away by people that, know the game of basketball, but they're also, in touch with the program. And maybe they're afraid to call out the BS when they see it. You lost to a good Wisconsin team that will be a 6th seed in the tournament. Okay. You did not lose to a scrub team. And really, at the end of the year, you didn't have any losses to bad teams. But as I said, is it the way in which you're losing them for a team that wants to make a run, for a coach that has not made many in his career? This ain't it, and we know it, and we see it. And then what do? Well, we rinse and repeat. We go get some new dudes in April, and in May, we get a new roster. We try again with the same coach, with the same concerns, and we win 22 games, and we lose in the second round, and on we go, and over and over. And there are worse lots in life than that. But it is a bit of a killjoy when you feel like you've seen the same story before. That is, I think, the crux of it. We've seen this before. And oh no, it's happening again. I mean, that's it, right? From on the mark, at some point, don't you just make Boyd pass the ball or pressure him? He lost the ball dribbling by himself multiple times. Mark, you didn't do anything today. You did nothing. You tried a zone look a couple times. Fine. That's throwing stuff at a wall. You had no aggressiveness against Boyd to try to get the ball out of his hands. And yes, I will admit the officiating was terrible. But you know what? That's always a chance. That can very easily and likely will happen in March. Some teams overcome it. You did not. Because this team doesn't have it right now. And it is danger zone. It is late in the game to reacquire it, whatever that is. Let's see here. From Jay, who else didn't think the game was over when it was going to overtime? Oh, the game was over. You knew it, Jay. I knew it. We all knew it. And you could say, well, that's a negative thing. Yeah, well, they're 0-4 in overtime. I wonder what Brad's comments about end of game, closing him out, will be today. From Fedigator, no leadership, no fight, tired legs, just soft. All of that, Fedigator. And that is not the makings of a tournament run. From MJ McCoy, we are so ridiculously bad in putting down the hammer on teams, and we suck in close games. Not a good formula. To this point, MJ McCoy, I think it happened twice in this game. You had a 15-point lead in the first half. Wisconsin does not call a timeout. Now, I said this to my dad watching it, and when you finally hit the under 12 timeout at about 7:45 to go in the first half, I said to him, I don't know, like maybe this is maybe nitpicking, but just like shades of UCLA, that frenetic pace was not favoring you. The legs were getting tired. You got a timeout, like call it. And he didn't. And you didn't lose the game because of that, but you had a 15-point lead in the first half, MJ McCoy. and I think it's Micah, by the way, you had the opportunity right then and there to make it a very different game. Of course, Wisconsin would have made runs, but listen, teams that make tournament runs have a bit more killer instinct than this team. This team doesn't. Yeah, they just don't. So I don't care what lead they have in a tournament game or how many threes they're hitting early. They've shown an ability or propensity, I should say, to pucker up a little too much. And what Brad Underwood does that drives me absolutely bananas, it's like these timeouts you get in the first half that he just pockets them and lets them just evaporate. You got a rebound, you got the ball, 36-30 lead. Call timeout, set up a play. I understand you don't want the defense to get set, but I don't know, man. Time and time again, this has been a Brad Underwood thing forever. He does not really care to use that first half timeout. 15-point lead, you go into halftime up 6. You go back up 15, back down to 6. And as Isaac had texted me and Trevor, well, man, after all that, you're back where you started. Yeah. And then Wisconsin kept going, and you just fizzled. The word soft has a lot of connotations to it, a lot of negative connotations. I get that. I think the tired legs are leading to the softness, as Fedigator had mentioned. And the only benefit I can take from today is that you are not putting any more energy on those legs. The only benefit of today is that you're not playing tomorrow and that you get one extra day of rest. That's the only benefit. But that's small consolation when I could say, well, get your legs back under you and they'll coach them up, because I don't believe that for a second. I do not believe that for 1 second. From Bobo, Brad wouldn't have done anything different because he's a shit in-game coach. Well, if the shoe fits. From Seth, Brad didn't get out of his chair until the last 5 minutes and the lead evaporated. Yeah. From St. Don, Brad is lazy and old. Stubborn. Damn. From Brandon. Hey, Brandon, do guards shoot 90% in the paint against every team or just us, the tallest team in the country? That's a great question, Brandon. You know, Big Z can be disruptive. Tommy is just defensively worthless right now. There is no benefit defensively to him. You're watching Mara for UCLA, or he was UCLA, for Michigan, and it affected Bruce Thornton, who's great at getting to the rim. It was in his head by the end of that Ohio State-Michigan game. You aren't instilling any fear against small guards. Boyd is not that big. He didn't care that Big Z was down there. He didn't care if Tommy was down there. These guys aren't doing anything to disrupt quick guards. We saw it against Jeremy Fears and Michigan State. We've seen it all year. And you can say, well, that's a roster construction thing. Well, maybe so, but guys, you still have enough height in the backcourt to be a little bit more disruptive, and they just aren't. They suck at defense again. And let's not do, well, Cam Crocker didn't do his job. Who hired him? I don't think Illini fans are falling for the spade of, well, let's blame the so-called coordinator. I don't think fans are falling for that. It's at the top. It's trickle down. And if you guys are frustrated that Brad Underwood's not being more demonstrative and being up on his feet, I get it. But, you know, I feel like at this point, because of where we see this going and where we know it inevitably will end, that we are picking at anything. I understand that would be perceived as unfair, but the frustration has just reached a boiling point, because we watched this team and thought this is a team capable of making a run, and now it does not feel that way at all. So we naturally will look for, if you want to say scapegoats, fine, but really more to the point, reasons as to why that is. And the continual thing we go back to, because the rosters keep changing. So the continual thing we have to go back to, the only consistent thing here has been Brad Underwood. Roster after roster, they seem to find themselves at the same place at the end of the year, which is kind of a mess. All right. Got a few more here. DZE Days 6533, poor coaching again. From William, 69 points given to 2 guards. It was 69. I'd say nice, but just a shame it wasn't 6-7. Regardless, that is ridiculous. I cannot allow myself to look at the press conference. I can't do it. That would not be good for me. That would not be good for me at all. From William, looking for the media applying Charmin to soothe Brad's backside. This is an interesting thing, William, and I know that Jeremy has talked about in his podcast, that I do think it is a tightrope that credentialed media has to walk. This is why I'm not credentialed media. I mean, but here's the thing. Who's to say that in my anger that I'm going to go and they're like, excuse me, robber. Like, how constructive is that? I don't know. I think it is fair to ask him again, okay, you're 0-4 in overtime. What's leading to that? And then let him, if he wants to be surly, he can, but he has no place to do that. From Bobo, Brad is the basketball equivalent of Ron Zook. He can recruit but can't coach for shit. Easier to win in basketball. Only need a couple top players. You know what's the problem is, Bobo? I can't disagree with that. Ugh. At the core of that argument, it's just harder. It's getting harder to disagree with. And I swear to God, how many assistants do you need? I mean, see, if you haven't already, just peep there's a second row to the bench. I know most teams have this, but how bloated has this become? It's a fucking game. What? It's basketball. We're putting the resources into this program to not shit the bed in the second round again. And it looks like you're looking very distinctly at that possibility. And now you have a double-digit coaches and advisors and video dudes and oh my God, it is a game. What I just watched is two guys school you over and over and over, and you didn't do anything about it. And I'm thinking, I don't know how many more assistants you could hire who could have planted a bug in Brad's ear as to what to do in such a situation when two guards get 69 points? Legit. Oh. From Seth. Brad hasn't won in March since Shannon carried him. Last year, they beat Purdue. Was that in late February or early March? And they won a game in the Big Ten tournament. They won an NCAA tournament game. But you're talking more generally, Seth, not okay. You have 1 second weekend appearance, guys, and it looks like it's going to stay that way. Jason says, can we get rid of Underwood, please? You aren't. Guys, if it is that bothersome to you, then it's going to have to be something that happens at the games. I think what I noticed at the Michigan game is that the vibe was not getting ugly per se, but there was this sort of exasperated, as people were walking out and just shaking their heads. You got the sense that in people's minds, if they weren't verbally saying it, they were thinking to themselves, again, and it's a frustrating place to be because I could have conversations with my family up in my in-laws up in Michigan. Oh, Illinois won the most Big Ten games in the last 8 years. And they're like, why should they care about that? It honestly, and you know, it's so weird. It is a legitimate benchmark. And yet, if I were to go around bragging to Purdue fans or Michigan fans, they'd say, yeah, well, what do you do in March? Whew, darn, that's a good point. Right, about March. I wouldn't have a retort. Let's see here. I don't know, guys. Bobo says, glad I get to have a relaxing weekend and not have to worry about Illinois basketball. I can't watch basketball this weekend, Bobo. And you know what? Maybe that's good. I'm not having fun with it anymore. I know I asked you guys this. I'm not having as much fun. From Brad, another huge lead blown, a Blunderwood team equals 0 poise. Yep. Oh, man, you guys are pissed. From E. Miller, women's basketball fights harder, makes more three-pointers. I will say I like the cut of Shauna Green's jib. But I also don't feel like she's trying to sell me something 24/7. From Champs, Tommy stopped rebounding, making any semblance of shots. I think the stat on X was that the Ivisic brothers haven't shot over 30% in the last 9 games. Yeah, I think that's probably combined, says Champs. I think you're right. I don't know, guys. Red Flags is on the mark. We are 1-6 against teams in the top 6 seeds in the Big Ten tournament. There was quite the line between the haves and the have-nots in the Big Ten this year. That's not to take away some of the bigger wins that Brad got and some of the sneaky wins like at Ohio State and at Iowa. Those are quality wins. But again, we're going back a while. We're going back to Nebraska February 1st. There's not a quality win since. If it feels bad, it's because it hasn't been great. That's the long and short of it. Oh, DZ days. Got to go. Keep up the good talk, Mike. Thanks. Well, thank you guys. And I hope that it offers some catharsis. I know I've started cursing more, but guys, it's 2026. I know I've told you before. I'm not going to have any more decorum on this podcast than the general state of the world. I apologize for that. But sometimes a well-placed F word just makes it feels good coming out of the mouth. It just does. From Gregory, I'm ready for a head coach. Brad has taken this as far as he can. It's time to hire someone who can take us to the finish line. Gregory, I have made points before that there is such a thing as shelf life. There is such a thing as I've seen it with some of my own favorite teams. I mean, the Yankees back in 1995, Buck Showalter was the manager. Gets in the playoffs, but then they fire him. They bring in Joe Torre, and then they win 4 out of 5. And you might be saying, okay, well, that's an anecdotal thing. And it certainly is, because there's always the inherent risk of making a change. This, of course, I'm saying all this knowing full well that there is no change to be made. The only change will come when Brad Underwood retires. That is it. And I think, honestly, that is the underlying current here that is making this conversation frustrating for all of you, for the chat thread. The catharsis you're looking to experience here is limited because this ain't going anywhere. So you got to win with him. And that is why we're all feeling, I don't think we can, because we just don't have any faith in him. Let's see. From Jazzy, how many 15-point leads have we blown? 4? Well, let's see here, Jazzy, off the top of my head. Wisconsin, were you ever up 15 the first time? You were up 12 with 8 to go. UCLA was 23. This one was 15 twice. Michigan State, you were up 8, I think, early in the second half. If you're talking his career, Jazzy, I don't know. But it's hard, guys. I mean, it's not fun. This is very frustrating, and I don't expect that people that are more like objective covering the sport would look at this conversation as fruitful in any way, shape, or form. They would say, these people are nuts. They're winning games. And I'd say, yeah, but. And that is, I understand the ridiculousness of sports kind of in a nutshell. But I hope this provides a platform for some of you to get some of that catharsis. I really do. All right. From Knight. The only player I want back next season is Merck, assuming Wagler to NBA. I want Merck back 100% Knights. I know he didn't make his free throws today. That's my guy. I don't know if he is a 1A for a team that would make a serious run, but you got to keep him. From Jay, team played better without Boswell. Not blaming him, but it is what it is. Jay, it reminds me of the Ravonte Rice thing, and I know that Kylan's numbers weren't what Ravonte's were. But there was a lot of talk that, John Gross and that team made their run in February when Ray was out, and then he came back for the Michigan game at home. I think they won in overtime that game. But there was something about, there's a weird thing about team chemistry. I think with Boswell today, getting the technical early, okay, fine, you're yapping. I don't have a problem with that. But then you picked up your second foul a minute later. Now, that in and of itself didn't kill you in this game. And Kylan made a few plays for you. But defensively in the second half, it didn't matter if it was him. It didn't matter if it was Stojakovic or Wagler. You were getting beat every time. Eventually, someone has to have some pride. And you got to look to your senior leader for that first before you look to Stojakovic, who's a junior, third school, or Keaton, who's a freshman. Oh, man. From Fedigator, there are 2 coaches, Brad and Tyler, and the rest are stat takers and talent finders. I mean, here's the thing, Fedigator. Like, I don't think you're wrong. I just don't. I mean, Cam Crocker's probably the defensive guy. I don't think that Jeff Alexander and Orlando Antigua are, strategizing over there. And Brad, I got this brilliant idea. I'm trying to think of the Lou Henson equivalent. Yeah, Jimmy Collins was the recruiter. Mark Coombs and Dick Nagy, or Scott Nagy. I think it was Dick Nagy. And I'm sure that those were maybe more of his strategic guys. For a Bill Self, the Norm Roberts, Billy Gillespie, Wayne McClain, I want to say. I think Wayne was probably like the good relationship building type, a decent enough recruiter. But that Billy Gillespie knew game. And you knew that Norm Roberts knew game. Jay Price, that had to be the only thing he was good at because he couldn't recruit worth a damn, if I recall. I mean, he must have just been the most brilliant mind Bruce Weber ever came across, and then eventually he became the head coach of the St. Thomas More girls team. So, sorry, that was, that's a nice thing to do. I'm just saying that no college team was wanting the services of Jay Price when that all ended. No, I mean, it is Brad's team. It is Brad's program. And the CEO aspects of it, pretty good. And the talent evaluation, pretty good. But maximizing it, not. It just isn't. When you put this many guys in the NBA, you do and you should expect more. Zach says, are they going to be a 3 seed after the loss? I mean, if Iowa State wins tonight, 100% they take that 2. If they compete against Arizona, Iowa State, they probably take the 2. They're playing better than you right now. And the committee has a long history of rewarding teams that are kind of on heater. Now, maybe you get the benefit of the doubt that you lost a couple of those games when you had injuries. But I think that argument is strengthened if you beat Wisconsin today with Boswell and with Stojakovic after not having them in February, but it didn't matter. It was the same game. All right. Got a couple more here, guys, and then I got to go on with my weekend. Oh, dude. Champ says, if only we could live bet Illinois as a resident, we'd all be rich. Dude, you have no idea. I saw 7.5. I said, I think we're going to sneak out a win, but man. Yeah, guys, I wish we had better news. I really, really did, but we're going to wait until Monday to do a podcast. I got to give myself the weekend. I'm just not having fun with this right now. I'm having fun with you guys. I'm having fun talking about it. I'm not having fun thinking, I see where this is going. That kind of premonitory stuff of thinking I know where this is going to end. And you can say, well, let it play out. Yes, of course I'm going to let it play out. And of course, if they win, I'm going to come here and say, hey, that's a pretty damn good job by this coaching staff of figuring it out when it mattered the most. I think it's okay to do both. I think it is okay to criticize when a game was right there in front of you and 2 15-point leads, poof, gone, see ya. To say, well, that's not good enough. And then at the same time say, whoa, hey, that was a job well done. That's sports fandom. I'm on here as a fan. That's what I'm talking to you as. And I appreciate we have about 450 in there now. Thank you guys. And Knights, real quick about that. He said, LOL, shout to Colin Jeremy, the agree carp. That's not who I was referring to. What I'm referring to are more of the basketball, maybe some of the guys that played. And that could be at some of the national outlets. That could be with some of the local ones. But the sort of the guys that talk about the X's and O's and will kind of tell you over and over, oh, this offense is brilliant because this, that, or the other. And then I'm sorry to oversimplify, but I'm sitting here saying, yeah, but where's the deep tournament runs? Where's the maximizing of this NBA talent? Because we can talk about that stuff all day and the NBA kind of similarities between the way this offense is run with matchup hunting and all. That's fine. And there's value in that X's and O's stuff. But the frustration to me is when certain simple arguments are poo-pooed as if the layman fan doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's well, no, I might not have been in team meeting rooms, but here's my argument to you, is that sometimes those that are closest to the game, of course, they can provide analysis to the X's and O's, but they do lose the forest for the trees sometimes in terms of overall trends. And sort of, let's be real, sports is every much about the fan base as it is the players on the court. So my service is not going to be coming on here talking about, hey, guys, I broke down the film and yada, yada. No, that's not what I'm good at. I would probably not be much worth listening to if I did that. But you know what? That doesn't discount my or you, the listener or the viewer's opinions about something that you watch and you invest in and you spend money on and time on and continue to see the same disappointing results when it comes down to it. So don't let experts who are experts in the game dissuade you from feeling disappointment if you know in your heart of hearts and with your own eyes, with what you see, that something ain't right. You watched that game. You've watched this team since the win at Nebraska. It hasn't been right. And it's a little late for that. So just to clarify, that was not Jeremy and Kyle. They're doing what they got to do along with the other beat reporters and Brad Sturdy and all those guys. And hopefully none of them get snapped at today. And I know that they got thick skin. It's not about that. That is a very difficult tightrope to walk. And I'm not quite on the level that some of you guys have voiced frustration about that. They're doing a job and it ain't easy. and I've seen the work that they put into it, and they got to maintain relationships, and that is a minefield that I would not be equipped to work through. I'm just not. I probably am way too temperamental to do something like that with a team I've been rooting for my whole life. You could ship me off somewhere for a team I don't care about, and I'd figure it out. But no, that was not a shot at the Inquirer guys. That was not a shot at 24/7 Sports. Illini guys, whatever. I mean, I had my thing about them and Kedrick cosplaying as journalists before, but that's neither here nor there. If they are in a press conference and asking questions, I hope they get respect because they took the time out to be there, and that is part of what Brad Underwood's getting paid for. No, I'm talking about, and this goes for sports. It's the guys that played, that break down the film, and then they seem to, because they've either coached before or they know the coaches themselves, they are being very careful, and they probably just don't have it in them to call out what we see as like, whoa, what's going on here? Because they probably do have a relationship with those coaches. I don't, and I don't want to. I'm there in the stands. I'm rooting for the team. I hope they do well, but I don't want to, that is a gap that I'm not going to try to bridge, given my historical context and my own experiences as a fan with this program. I'm not going to do that. So that's just clarification night. I know what you were saying there, but that was not my intent in saying that. All right. Nathan says, Mike, appreciate you. It's hard to do a podcast after a loss. Thank you, Nathan. And I wish it would be more fun. I mean, they were up 15, and I'm like, this is all you needed to do, Michigan. It's hey, just go out there, see what happens. But no, we're here. The same conversation we had after the last Wisconsin game. From Bobo, Carp, Canada or USA tonight? The World Baseball Classic. Hopefully Mark DeRosa knows what the team has to do, finally. Bobo, go Team USA, but my bigger priority is just please don't let Aaron Judge get hurt. I mean, listen, they would be playing games in spring training anyways, but that's I watch these games, I'm like, oh, please God, no injury to Aaron Judge, no injury to Aaron Judge. Oh, and one more here from Drew. I understand the Merez thing was huge, but Brad and the staff missing on Petro has buried this team down the stretch. It was a big miss, Drew. They did not bring him over for that amount of money to sit on the bench. That is a huge miss. Whew. One more from St. Dom. Carp, I think if Brad loses in the first weekend, he'll be in the hot seat. I don't know what that last bit is there, Dom, but you mentioned donors. It would take donors getting a bunch of money together. I need to maybe look at the contract. You guys keep saying lifetime contract. I think those are good enough to wipe your butt with, essentially. That's just, symbolic more than anything. But yeah, if they lose in the first weekend, as St. Dom finishes, donors won't put up with it. I mean, that's it, guys. I'm a teacher. I don't have the money to buy anything out. If I were Shad Khan, I'd say, what do you need to go get Nate Oates? I would say that. And you can say, well, what? Nate Oates is going to be. He's better. It's just what it is. It's just what it is. So if you were saying, well, Carp, who can you do? Yeah, Nate Oates. He's right there. He's from the Midwest. Alabama does not value their basketball program as much as we do, but it ain't going to happen. Sorry. So that's why that dilemma. I'm frustrated, and yet I'm rooting harder for Brad Underwood than ever because he ain't going anywhere. So please figure it out. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy Selection Sunday. We're going to wait until Monday because it's going to be freezing cold. It's spring break started for me, so I'm just going to pop down here Monday mid-morning around like 10 maybe, do a podcast with that. And then we'll have a little bit more time to have broken down possible opponents, things like that. It's still March, but man, it's been taxing, and I wish it were more fun. But right now, I'm just kind of pissed. But apparently a lot of you are too. I really appreciate all those tuning in. We got 450 people there through our Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter feeds. Thank you for all the comments. The frustration, I know, was abound, and for good reason. Hamilton Walker's Steak, Seafood, and Spirits right in the heart of downtown Champaign. I can taste that old-fashioned on my tongue. Oh, cannot wait to make a weekend trip to Hamilton Walker's. When you get there, tell them Carp sent you. We've had a few tweets and things like that. People saying, hey, Carp, took up your offer on Hamilton Walker's. It was great. So let them know because I like when a local business is supported, and I like just quality restaurants like Hamilton Walker's. And I'll be honest, guys, it's harder and harder to find. And you know this. this day and age, quality post-COVID, it's kind of gone down. And Hamilton Walkers has somehow went up in quality, and their service, everything about it is just, it makes me happy. So my frown will turn upside down when I sit down at Hamilton Walkers with my old fashioned and the bread and the herb butter that comes out of the kitchen and the Caesar salad and my bone-in steak and my steak fries, and I'll be good. I'll be good. Also, State Farm agent Brian Hansen, online at brianismyguy.com. Life, auto, home, business, renters, you name it, brianismyguy.com. Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing, your home's best friend. Give them a call at 217-841-4728 and join their maintenance program. No overtime or weekend fees and guaranteed same-day service with Dogtown Heating, Air, and Plumbing. And finally, Owen Builders LLC, online at owenbuildersllc.com. For your next home improvement project, check out a gallery of their work online at owenbuildersllc.com. All right, guys, have a great weekend. It's going to be a basketball-free one for me. And find some movies or things that just don't tick me off as much. But thank you for giving me a sounding board. I mean, listen, I'm a lifelong fan. I can be frustrated, but I do appreciate talking Illini sports because I love it. You love it. We love it. We would not be investing this time in it if we didn't. We just want them to be successful, and it feels like this thing is plateaued. Your frustration is warranted. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Talk to you Monday after Selection Sunday. It is the 200 level.